Hello there. I've not been that active on YouTube for quite some time, for about 2 years now. The last time I was around I'd gained quite a few creationist admirers that could quite fairly be called stalkers really. But despite being away for some time, I've received messages from one particular character called divinesunone. I've given him no attention for those 2 years, and yet there he is, just 2 months ago, making videos about me on something I apparently said. And what, is he fixated on me? But before I get into this with regards to one of his videos, let me give you my perspective on his character. He's a scientifically illiterate creationist that makes cheesy videos. And that are just basically pictures and writing that is suspended on a screen for a long enough duration for you to read several times before moving on to the next shot. He refuses to add his voice or face to any video, and even refuses to debate me live when I offer him. Then should you make a video debunking any of his nonsense, because he does encourage it, he then resorts to false DMCAing. And his reasons for that are because you've taken shots from his own video. This is incredibly hilarious really, because his videos are nothing but just a cascade of images that are not his own and videos that are of other people's work, which he's just edited over. This should already tell you enough about this character and his personality, and for those reasons I refuse to get into a proper debate with him. This will be my only response. Should my videos get DMCA'd again, I will reset my video and post it again. My future videos shall focus on other big-name creationist claims. divinesunone is a tiny character that very few people like, and for this reason he has sock accounts to thumb himself up. Self-delusion at work. He even thinks that he can take on Pat Condell and win. And may I add that he has taken fantasy battle games and reposted them on his channel when I last spoke to him some years ago, and re-edited them as battles between atheists and religious people. He's a sick and twisted individual, to put it lightly. Now what does he claim? Well, he wants to claim that most scientists, 66% of them, are theists, as opposed to my claims, which aren't specified, and for which of the reasons I include shots of your video, divinesunone, to prove that you actually made a particular assertion. There might be a few clues there as to how you can improve your next videos. But there are 2 problems with this before we even get started. Number 1, it doesn't prove anything. If most scientists were theists, they still use science. And you're a creationist. What does a theistic scientist that accepts evolution do to support your position? Well, here's his screenshot and paragraph from the National Centre for Science Education Study 1997, which he thinks supports his position, which only mentions and talks about the differences between the view of scientists and those of the general public, with no figures for anybody to see or examine here. But it does, however, have links to those papers. So to begin with, we'll start with a shot of the actual paper. And as you read it, you get some clear results. One is that 40% of scientists think God had a hand in evolution. Results from various scientific disciplines were included in that, including mathematicians. Another line states that 55% of these scientists have a naturalistic atheistic view. And below the paragraph that divinesunone posted, 5% of the scientists questioned have the same fundamentalist views as 46% of the American population. Your claims of 66% of theists in science comes from an article that's not based on peer review. You're reading someone else's interpretations of the results. The interpretations are sketchy at best because there's no paper to explore the details. Livescience tells us that 36 questions were used. So what were those questions? What were their findings? And how were they interpreted? If we look on Rice University's site at Elaine Eklund's findings in more detail, there's a few eye-catching statistics. Firstly, we can see that some of the questions asked were for views on religion and science and whether they were essentially at conflict, asking both scientists and members of the public. Most strikingly is that we have one clear figure at the bottom, that only 36% of scientists strongly believe in a God, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's your God either. And 36% is close to the 40% from the National Centre for Science Education study on the other article we just looked at, on whether scientists think God guided evolution. But also, if they're the ones, the 36%, who are sure that God exists, then the rest must either be unsure or non-believers altogether, fitting into the agnostic atheist category. But as we stated, this is from a variety of professional disciplines. When looking at prominent scientists within the natural sciences, we get 70% of such scientists that are disbelievers and agnostics. Life sciences is where we're most interested in when we're talking about evolution. These studies are from America and from 17 years ago. But following the trends where an increase in skepticism over the years would indicate that also the figures for naturalistic thinking scientists would also increase. But here in the UK, 78% of prestigious scientists from the Royal Society of London strongly disagreed with a supernatural God that does or has existed, and only 8.1% agreed strongly. Religious scientists seem scarcer than they are because they know full well that a claim for a God cannot be scientifically supported or justified. So there's strict rules in science that must be adhered to ascertain certain facts from the best available evidence of the time. They have to be observable, repeatable, verifiable and falsifiable. The creationists' constant attacks on science can never justify the existence of a deity, let alone yours. And it's not a case of if X is false then Y is true.